Welcome to the Nerduthiest Gaming Podcast, where today we have three members of DSI. They are a independent video game company. Before we hop into what they're currently working on and things about their company, we're going to learn a little bit about them and their background. There's been a lot of struggles in the video game industry, so there's no intro for the show today. I usually spat off a bunch of crap for you guys to listen to. That doesn't matter today. Today we're talking about the industry and their company. Let me start out with this real quick. This was a post from Jerry. This was something that kind of went viral. This was on his LinkedIn page. I'm just going to read it, and then I want to start the conversation from this point. It says, "Update. I'm going to month 4 of unemployment, and it seems the game industry continues to fall off a cliff regarding layoffs. Over this time, I've been on a roller coaster of interviews with several new hires and final team interviews, only to come in second. I was even hired by one studio, but the day that it went up to draw the letter, the Embracer Group closed their studio. To my friends, family, and coworkers, your support has helped me stay positive week to week as my search for a new team continues. To those reading this, also looking for work and experience, one rejection or ghosting after another, we all need to keep fighting for our dreams. Working in our industry and making games isn't for the faint of heart, and as of late, things have managed to get more brutal. I've been on the fence for some time as to whether or not to begin the steps to found a startup studio. Since I have experience in game production, QA art, and design, that is starting to look like my best option. My concern is that locating another one or two founders who are dedicated and serious and could balance out my missing areas around engine and code dev work. Also, another concern is when looking for funding, a strong background in the game industry with IPs or AAA game experience between the founding partners would help to secure funding from a capital source. At this point, I'm keeping my options open, but I'm beginning to get the feeling my next opportunity might require me to build a door rather than to find one to walk through. Who knows, maybe others can eventually follow me through it and we can get some walls to hold it up. Stay positive, keep focused, and let's continue to help one another. Jay." So that was written by Jerry. Jerry is one of the members of DSI who we're going to be speaking with. I'm going to let him speak in a second. We also have Nick here. Before I forget, Nick, you want to give a wave? There we go. Mike, you want to give a wave too, sir? We got Mike here from DSI. Wes, you guys know Wes. There's no introduction needed. I'm Matt. Jerry, open it up for us, man. Just talk about what you were going through that day. The stuff you all of you are eventually going to talk about this, but since you made that LinkedIn post, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, for me, it's always been kind of about the community. I was disheartened by seeing many posts that day and from other people that were experiencing the same thing. And I'd gone through it. I had like I think 7 interviews in like the last few months. I was laid off. My previous position at 343, and it was just one after another. The Embracer Group, closed many studios, and like you were read earlier, the one of the studios here in Bellevue, Washington, had given me an offer letter they were writing up, and that day, as they were writing up the letter, they found out that their studio was getting closed, and it was just like one thing after another, domino, and I thought I was feeling really emotional. I'm like, I don't feel like this is ending, and it's just going on, and when does it end? And I was like, I just have to post something positive for the community, and it has to be a self-reflection piece for me, like what I'm experiencing. And I put it out into the world, and I didn't really expect that it would do much, but it kind of went a little bit viral, and it kind of blew me away that so many people were so responsive from the community and positive and things like that. And Nick from DSI saw the post, and that is kind of how we came together. And I fell into DSI that way. And it really harkened back to my post of, I need to find some people that I can trust, and we need to build that frame that, we can walk through for the door. And, you fast forward from when I started back in October with these guys, and here it is the end of May, and we're doing just that. We're building that door frame, and we're walking through it, and we're really close. Like we just finished our demo for our beautiful corner, and there's a lot of things rolling right now, and we'll talk about more of that stuff here in a bit. But It's been tough. We are completely volunteer right now, the whole entire studio. And some of us are working part time. Some of us are, struggling to get by. I'm lucky enough to have a partner, that supports me while I'm helping, these guys out. And we're getting there, but it's not an easy road. And I see the LinkedIn posts from a lot of my former colleagues, and they're struggling. And I do everything I can every day to, you know, help guide people and give them suggestions and let's get through this. But the industry just keeps kicking us in the head. Every time I turn around, I think we're at the bottom. There's only one way up, and crash, another big layoff. So it's pretty disheartening.
Just so you guys know, too, Jerry is no slouch. He's been around since 2000 working in the games industry. He's worked for companies like Square Enix, Take Two Interactive, Turn 10, 343 Industries. He's not new to the industry in any way, shape, or form. So that shows you, like, somebody with vast experience is struggling to find a job, at least at, like, studios that already have funding, let's say, right?
Yeah, and I like to boast I started my first job on Chrono Trigger as a tester back in, actually I started in 95 on that. So it's been a crazy journey being a QA person, an art person, a producer. uh, the journey continues. A lot of people, when they start their career, they move through multiple hats. And um, yeah, it's been a lot of fun working with these guys at DSI, and I've kind of been picking up on some of those multiple hats, helping out with art and helping out with QA and things like that, and it's been fun. But yeah, you never know where you're going to be doing this. I never thought I'd be in a startup up until last year. And I've always had the luxury of working for large IPs, from the time I started till the time I was laid off pretty much last year. And so this startup is like a whole new world for me, and I've learned a lot from these guys, and they're continuing to learn from me, and I'm learning from them, and it's a really great kind of combination that we've got going.
Yeah, I've looked at the background of your studio, and, like, everybody has something to bring to the table, and it's really cool how you guys have done it together. It's all independent. Um, Nick, who kind of sorted all this through, we'll talk to him in just a second, because that's going to be super interesting. But Mike, what is your experience in the video game industry so far? And, like, I know DSI is like your no, it's not your first job. That's incorrect. I remember reading your profile before. So you've done a few things before with writing and stuff. Tell us where you came from, and have you also had struggles along the way, or where you kind of, how did that fall out?
Yeah, so as far as the video game industry is concerned, DSI is my first run at it. I graduated back in 2018 with a creative writing degree, and I was going to do half video games, half novels. And man, getting into the games industry has been super tough. As Jerry pointed out, there's a lot of ghostings, and you get a lot of automated rejections. There was even a time, I'm not going to name any names to drag anyone under the bus, but I was talking with a higher up member of a big studio, and things seemed to be going great. He was going to push everything through, and I'm not blaming him, but he did end up ghosting me at some point, as things happen. And then eventually, I was lucky enough to find DSI. I saw a post by Nick. I think it was him and Joel, actually. It was like a first showcase of gameplay, and I said, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to reach out to him. I'm going to bother him, and I'm going to start a conversation. And he was awesome enough to actually talk to me, even when there wasn't an opening. He just had a basic conversation with me, and I think like a month after that, he said, hey, you know what, we kind of do need a writer. Let's talk more about it. I joined as a narrative designer, and then I just kicked ass from there, and now I trusted as a fellow co-owner.
That's awesome, man. You
Nice.
you did have some history of writing previously too, correct? I don't know if
Uh,
it was on a game, but you definitely wrote some, for some another company or something at some point, right?
no, so I did release a like a, I guess, a short story collection. That was my first official experience, and then alongside DSI, I was finally able to self-publish my first novel through Amazon.
Got it. Got it. Nick,
That's cool.
obviously this is your company that you started essentially, right? I mean, I know you have
Yeah.
other co-founders and things like that, but what was your journey here? I mean, I looked at your information and what you have. I mean, I know you have a master's in game design. So, what brought you to doing this and not working for a studio? Was it something that you had to figure out for yourself? Did you know you wanted to open your studio from the beginning? Take it away.
So it's actually a really interesting story about a man named Jed. No, I'm joking. So I came from a background of being a government contractor. I was with the federal government. I was making security
Sounds
applications. Oh, so fun. Let me tell you. And I said, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. And then a wonderful little thing called the pandemic happened, and everybody got furloughed, and they didn't choose me to return. So I picked up some software as a service representation in my portfolio. I joined this little startup called Stellar IMS. And after I started with them, they were a startup culture. They were a team of 15. They had funding. They had these really bare bones, like third-party systems. And I was looking at that as sort of the touching stone to sort of launch my own company. Had no idea what it was going to be at that point. Until after I had actually left that little small startup, I started then putting things together in my head. I said, hey, what are some things that I could do that I am really comfortable with? So I was thinking web design. I was thinking software as a service. I was thinking things that would help a customer solve problems. And then all of that went out the window one morning when I approached my best friend and said, hey, do you want to take a drive out to Lake Erie? Mind you, I'm from Maryland. So a drive from Annapolis, Maryland to Lake Erie is about an 8.5-hour drive. You really learn to figure some stuff out about your life in an 8-hour drive. So him and I were just talking, and we had a piece of graph paper, and I said, write this down. While I was driving, we had lost service because we were in the middle of the Poconos, and he was writing down just third-party softwares. And then we finally get to the lake. It was 32 degrees. It was very cold. Lake had basically frozen over, and we were standing there, and we were like, well, we made it. And then we started talking about our love and passion for games. My best friend at the time was an audio engineer, and I was a software designer. So I was like, how can we marry these two aspects of life? And that's sort of how we jump-started Digital Scorpion Interactive. The first thing we did, we saved that PDF of like that grid paper, and then we went out, we bought a whiteboard. And then a month later, we had an LLC. 3 months later, we brought on our first hire. You guys haven't seen him yet, but his name is Joel Miller. He was our very first ever hire. He was our developer, and now he's our chief technology officer. When we are talking about that master's degree, where it all fits in, and that Chewy and Amazon stuff, that's how I learned my leadership. I started DSI before I joined Amazon and Chewy, and they really sort of spearheaded the ability of helping me like treat people as human, because I saw all of the things that Amazon did. I saw all the things that Chewy did. And I said, okay, well, I can combine the two, utilize servant leadership and empathetic reasoning, and treat the studio like the baby that it is, and just let it grow. And that's really my story. That's also what inspired me to get a game design master's.
That's awesome, man. So
that's awesome.
Thank you.
What made you not want to, like, you just knew right away you wanted to do your own thing. You did not want to be involved with like a bigger company. I'm assuming that's what happened, right? You were just like, I'm just doing this myself.
Yeah. Basically I said, we're going to hit the ground running. I'm tired of having like that boss over me saying, oh, that wasn't good enough. And then providing that like really rigid feedback, where we can do our own thing, be our own bosses, and have that creative freedom and control. And treat people the way they should be treated. So that's really where things kind of stemmed for my love of creating this studio.
Well, I can meet you eye to eye there, man. That's why I started Nerdthusiast, right? This is it's an LLC, right? It's a business. It's here to try to make money, but it is a passion project. You know, we're all kind of like you guys. We all have, jobs for the most part. Everybody at the company has some other job, but we're trying to get this thing to grow and get it off the ground. So I can appreciate all of that and not wanting to listen to anybody above you tell you what to do, because that always sucks.
It's the truth.